able to touch base with all of you out there and cover so many topics that many of you beg me to cover all of the time, and we never have enough time for it. So I'm like, you know what, every single day I'm just going to go live so that we can get through all these topics that people are always reaching out about. And I had a whole bunch of you beg me to cover technology today. I know it's like, where do I find the balance? Where's the line? How do I put in a boundary? There was one particular parent that made a post in the Powerful Parenting public group. If you aren't part of that, make sure that you are. It's obviously on Facebook. And she explained what's going on with a technology issue with her child, and just said that, I don't allow technology until they're 18. And there was a big conversation going on in the thread there. So I wanted to address this one in particular because I promised I would. And, it can be a double-edged sword. So let me start on a couple of things. Firstly, I want to say this, okay? It is our job as parents, I believe, if we're going to be conscious parents, it is our job as a conscious parent to prepare our children for the world that they will live in, okay? Now, when we take them away from technology altogether and, we make all these harsh rules around it, I know that a parent's intention is to protect them. Let me say this in one sentence. It doesn't protect them. What it does is it doesn't prepare them, okay? It doesn't prepare them for the world that they are going to live in. If you have fears around your child, getting themselves in trouble because of technology, then what I'm going to say is this. At some point, maybe they're 16, maybe they're 18, that at some point you have to, let go of the hold you have of your child and allow them to have their life. And at that point, we know they're going to go for technology, okay? Because that is their world, okay? Now, when they do that, we want to make sure that at that time, because 18 is old enough for them to make their own choices, but we know it's still young. It's still naive, right? We still need to protect them. And so that your best ability to truly protect your child, if that's your intention here with technology, is to prepare them and to give them the gift of discernment. If the safest way for them to develop their discernment is to have access to technology while they're at home with you, to make those mistakes, to have a conversation potentially with someone that was a stranger so that they can learn the lesson and go through all those feelings and go, oh, now I've learned what feels right, what seems suspicious. If they don't have the ability to be introduced to all of those experiences, when they become 18 and they get free reign, not because you gave it to them, but because they take it, even if you don't give it to them, they don't have the ability to discern or to feel or to intuitively know this stuff. That's where they're really in danger. So my advice is there needs to be boundaries around technologies, yes, but technology can be used as an incredible way for you to help your children learn lessons that prepare them to be able to be safe on their own. It's not going to be your job to keep them safe all the time. It is your job to teach them how to keep themselves safe, okay? And they can't do that if they aren't allowed to access the experiences that help them learn that. Okay, so the other thing is this: when we say to our child something to the effect of, oh, you can't have this app, or you can't be on technology because because it's scary and there are bad people out there and you never know what's going to happen and you never know who's watching you and all of these kind of things, what we're doing in that moment is we are building our child's concept of the world they live in. And that becomes the blueprint that they operate from the rest of their life. If you want to raise an empowered child who believes the world is an inspiring place, it's a playground for me to find myself in. It's the place where I can make my difference. It's, the world is a beautiful place. And if we do nothing other than tell them how scary the world is, they grow up learning that they can't trust the world, that they're always in trouble, that they always need to watch their back, that someone's always out to get them. That then becomes the filter that they see life through. It shapes their belief systems, it shapes their self-concepts, and it shapes their concepts of the world, which ends up determining what opportunities they do or don't take in life and where they end up. So the other thing is when we're putting too many boundaries on technology, the subconscious message in that is what we are saying to the child subconsciously. What they're hearing from us is, I don't trust you. You're not a trustworthy person. I don't believe that you'll know what to do. I don't believe you're safe. I believe you'll do something wrong. And when our children believe that that's what we believe of them, guess what? They live up to those beliefs. That also deepens the injury to their self-concept. And they're like, well, I'm not a trust. My mom or my dad doesn't see me as a trustworthy person. They don't see me as someone that's able to learn some lessons. They see me. And what it does is it creates an environment for three things: for deceit, for deception, and for dishonesty. Okay. That then has a bigger impact on the relationship between you and them. Because when we say to a child, you can't have technology, what we're actually saying is you can't have access to your friends. You can't grow up in the world that you're actually growing up in. You can't have what everybody else has. That then puts our children in a situation where they have no choice. Because we are pack animals, we need to belong to a herd. That is that we're wired that way. Okay. And so if you aren't giving me access to my friends to conversate, because think about it. I want you to honestly think about this. Yes, don't get me wrong, technology can be scary. But also, I want you to make a list if you really want to do some homework around this, because more often than not, this is a parent's own baggage, okay? It's a parent that feels like they're taking a responsibility that doesn't even really, that I'm going to be the bad parent if something happens because it's my job to protect them. I believe it is your job to prepare them and to create a space with your child where they are so connected to you that they feel safe to come to you with any situation, that they would feel safe to come and go, Mum, something's happened. This person messaged me and I messaged them back because I thought it was a friend, and now I feel like I'm really stupid. But now the person's saying that they want to meet me, or I've told them, or whatever. This is how you protect your child, by making those conversations feel safe to have. Okay. And in order to do that, guess what? They need to believe that we trust them. And how our belief systems are shaped. We don't believe what we hear. We believe what we experience. That is how belief systems are created. So a child doesn't believe you trust them because you say, I trust you. Okay. They believe you trust them by the evidence they collect in their life of all of the things you have done to show that you trust them. Okay. By giving them the ability to trust them with their own lives, particularly teenagers. The biggest thing the biggest gift a parent can offer their teenager is to trust them with their own life, to prepare them to do life without you. And the only way I can prepare you is to allow you to have all the experiences that you will end up having on your own. I want you to have experienced all of those emotions, all of those feelings, all of those mistakes while you are here, and while I can keep you safe, and while we can work through them, so that you've got, a repertoire of tools to be able to use, and you've developed the gift of discernment by the time you are on your own, and I can't be there to save you or to protect you like I can now. Okay. The other thing is technology has incredible value. So we've got to be careful as parents not to see technology through nothing other than a filter of bad and scary. Technology is connection. Think about how many friends you're in touch with and how many relationships the string would have broken with by now if it wasn't for technology. Think about the moments where you see somebody's post, let's say, or an article of some kind, and it touches you deeply. Right? It's like you get a moment of inspiration because of that. You get a new idea. You're in a tough time and the right thing just shows up at the right time and it offers you a new perspective. There is, it's like the journey of wholeness. It's the yin yang. Okay. Like it's not about removing our kids from the darkness. It's about being able to teach them how to navigate their way through the darkness. And the best way for them to learn is with me walking beside you. But at some point, you're going to walk alone. So I want to hold your hand through every experience possible, so that when you're alone, you can act like I'm already there. You can act like I'm there. You can act the same way that we did back when I was there holding your hand. All right. So my advice on technology is that kids need to be given access to it 100%. We are the ones that need to adjust. We are the ones that need to go, gosh, I am so bloody scared about this. There's something scaring me, but I don't need to take my fear and go and implode that on my child. I need to do some work on myself and go, what is scaring me so much? Where is this fear coming from? I'm not saying it's not valid, but we need to really, do the self-inquiry to work out what this really is before we go and place that heavy baggage on the shoulders of our child and let them grow up in a world that they are taught to believe is not safe and is going to get them. Okay, that does not set your child up for an empowering life. All right, that sets them up to be careful of everything. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be cautious, but when you see life through the filter of what's going to get me and what's going to hurt me and what's going to kill me, it changes everything. Okay, so that's one thing there. And I want to keep these chats short. As much as I could go into this topic for like 3 hours, I'm going to pause that there. Okay, the next thing I want to talk to you about is the fact that yes, technology needs boundaries sometimes. If you do some self-inquiry and go, why do I want to remove my child from some technology? Is this my baggage? Is it a genuine concern? Is it that I'm seeing that they're becoming addicted and I feel like it's consuming them? All of that is valid. So it's hard to go through this in 10 minutes because there's so many layers to it. But there are 2 reasons that a child will overuse technology that I believe every parent needs to watch out for and needs to know how to work through. Okay. Number 1, addictive behaviors. Because if your child is developing an addiction, okay, to the point where their brain is giving them, chemical cocktail like dopamine, norepinephrine releases and things like that literally create an addiction, that's a danger, okay? Because addictions are transferable. So right now it's an addiction with an iPad, which isn't really that bad in terms of life or death. But later on, that addiction becomes a drug or alcohol or, something that can have a more detrimental effect on their life. So we do want to make sure that we are stepping in enough to not allow addiction behaviors what we can do is we can use technology as a tool that highlights for us whether or not they are developing addictive behaviors. Now, here's the next thing. Behavior is never random. So ever. So even if they are developing an addiction, we then need to go, why? Because addictions don't develop out of nowhere, okay? There's always trauma that underlie any addictive behavior. So addictions become the coping mechanism for the trauma. And that's the second thing that we need to look out for. The fact that if our children are on technology too much, either they're developing an addiction or they've already got an addiction, okay? And that can be a big deal. Or they're using it as a coping mechanism. They're using it as a way to detach, to disengage, and to cope with something. As a parent, instead of coming in on them with, you need to stop that, you need to look at it more. If you want to be conscious about this, you need to go, why? What is it they're trying to escape from? What discussions are we not opening as a family that would make them feel safe enough to discuss what's going on? What is it that I'm missing? Maybe there's some pain therein that I haven't noticed, that I haven't paid attention to. I haven't seen it. All I see is the behavior. I don't see the pain behind the behavior. And because of that, I keep addressing the behavior. But for as long as I address the behavior, I'm nothing but a threat to the child because I come in like the angry monster. And when our brain perceives anything to be a threat, so when your child perceives you to be a threat, guess what? We go straight into our reptilian brain. Reptilian brain is responsible for nothing other than fight or flight response, okay? So when your child is in fight or flight response, they do not have any ability to make logical decisions or to even think through things. So we're asking them to, make decisions from the space that the neocortex makes decisions, but they're not in the neocortex. They're down in the reptilian brain. We have 3 brains: reptilian brain, mammalian brain, which is where we get all our social connection. It's where we're part of the pack. We're part of the herd. Our children want connection with us as much as we want it with them, but they can't get that because we too often come in as the threat. As soon as their brain perceives anything to be a threat, they're in fight or flight. In fight or flight, you cannot get connection. They have to be in mammalian brain to get connection. When you've got connection, that's where they'll hear you. That's where they're not listening to you through a filter with their defenses up. Okay, when you're talking to them in reptilian brain, guess what? It goes in one ear and out the other because they are in protection mode. All their brain is saying is, I see a threat and I need to protect myself from the threat. There is no time for connection here. So you need to make these conversations feel like it's safe for a child to be able to open this discussion and have it without feeling like they're wrong. If you make them feel like they're wrong all the time, when you tell them, oh, you're on that too much, you're doing it too much, you know what they hear? What they hear is, I'm so dumb. I'm so stupid. I'm so wrong. I can never get it right. And when they're in that, number one, it's crushing their self-esteem because it's shaping what they believe about themselves. And secondly, it's putting them in a position where they have to defend themselves constantly. And for as long as they have to defend themselves, they cannot connect and be open to your actual message. Now, once you get them into mammalian brain, you have the conversation, but then they go through mammalian brain into the neocortex. That is where we make logical decisions. That is where we're able to take in more information and, do the right thing and think through things. But you can't ask them to make a better decision when you're putting them in a position to act out of fight or flight. Okay. So this is why, if this is resonating with you and you're like, oh my gosh, all of this, where do I start? I'm going to be real with you. I want to strongly consider that you look at our online parenting program. This is why I created it, because you can't just deal with technology by dealing with technology. There are so many layers to that. Oh, it could be addiction. It could be a coping mechanism. Okay, well, if it is an addiction or a coping mechanism, why are they addicted, or what are they coping with? There's another layer, and there's another layer. So you can't just deal with it if you want to be a conscious parent and maintain connection with your children by dealing with it at a surface level, which is the level of behavior. Behavior is never ever random. What we want to do is we want to teach our children how to use technology, how to be safe on technology, what to look out for, what to come and ask me about if you're not sure, even without the fear of, well, I kind of want to ask, but I think I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. So what I'll do is I'll take the risk and not face the threat, and I won't ask. I won't take that risk. I don't want to ask because I could be in trouble and I can't go there. And so they don't even come to us with if you want to keep your child safe, if that truly is your intention behind these technology rules that you're putting in place, you don't keep them safe by keeping them away from it. You keep them safe by creating a space where they feel safe, without judgment, without criticism, without where you can correct me through discipline, without punishments, without consequences, okay? So that I can actually learn. The word discipline, it comes from the root word disciple, which means to learn. That is, if your child isn't walking away from one of your conversations with a learning experience, no discipline took place. They have no ability to change their choices next time. All they did was hear it through a filter of, I need to protect themselves, which is where they don't even hear the principles that you're speaking about. And that's why no matter how often you talk about it, they keep doing the same thing. Someone has to break that cycle, and that someone needs to be you. So if you are one of those parents that you're like, okay, I get it, I see it, I put my hand up, maybe I've done this wrong, maybe I've created a space where, geez, now what damage have I done? What trauma might I have missed? What coping mechanisms am I not aware of that my child is going through right now? Why doesn't my child want to be engaged with me? Why are they using it to disengage and to stay in their bedroom? All of these kind of things. If you are like, hey, I'm putting my hand up, I want to know about that, here's what you need to do. Comment down below. Write the word online program, okay? You can get a free parenting. We are offering free parenting support calls because I know right now, particularly with this craziness that's going on in the world, parents don't know what to do. They know that what they're doing isn't working, but they don't know what to do to make it work. And so I'm like, you know what? We're going to bridge that gap. We're going to offer free parenting support calls so that we can at least point people in the right direction. It may be that you need to look at one of our online programs. There's a whole lot of options. It may be that you can just come to the free webinar that's coming up. I mean, it depends on what's going on for your family. But if you would like to have a free parenting support call, comment down below online program. One of the incredible girls on my team, one of our coaches will reach out to you so that you can book a time to get a free call so that you don't let this go on any longer. If you truly want your child to be safe, then you've got to put all these principles in place so that when your child has one of those moments where they're like, shit, I took a drug at a party, and 2 days later I'm having hallucinations and something's going on in my head, but I'm too ashamed to talk to my parent about it because of the judgment that I know I'm going to feel. Your child's not safe in that scenario. You want your child to be safe. They need to know that even if they stuff up so badly, if they took a drug, if they got pregnant at 15, that they can come to you in their own guilt, in their own shame, and say, Mum, I'm not proud of the choice I make, but I need your help. That's how you keep your child safe. Not by saying you can't go to a party, you can't do this, you can't do that. That's the only space that you can be sure. That's the insurance policy on your child's life and on your relationship with them. Okay, so reach out for a parenting support call so that we can kind of go through all the information with you and share the options with you, and you can get the help that you need before things get out of hand, and even reverse the damage that might have already been done. Okay, there's nothing that can't be fixed, but obviously the longer it's left, the harder it gets to be able to change, particularly if you're dealing with teenagers. And look, lastly, I am going to be running a free webinar very soon. It'll be done inside the next 1 to 2 weeks. You won't get a whole lot of notice. At max, you'll get 3 days notice on it. What you need to do is comment down below. It's going to be completely free. I'm going to spend an hour with you. We're going to go through some really core topics that every parent needs. My heart wants to know that every parent out there at least is aware of these things and can have something to be able to start moving in the right direction with. So I'm going to be running that shortly. Comment down below the word webinar, because what we're going to do is once that webinar is locked in, we've got the link, everything set up, we're going to come back to all of these posts, and anyone who has written the word webinar, we're going to send you the link. There's going to be limited spots on that webinar. I'm going to be limiting it somewhere between 50 and 100 people probably, so that I can give more value. And what we're going to do is we're going to prioritize those of you that have asked for the link. You're going to get the link first and get your chance to register before we put it out publicly. Okay, I mean, all up I have, over 100,000 followers, so it's not going to be hard to fill 100 lines. And if you want to make sure you've got priority, make sure you write webinar down below. But that's the topic on technology. With it's a double-edged sword. Yes, there needs to be boundaries. There needs to be open conversations so that you can create where those boundaries are, and so that your child can explore the boundaries. Sometimes they cross them, and when they cross them, they learn the lesson, and then they do have a bad experience where they chat to someone or something and have a scary experience. Guess what? That becomes one of the best moments in your life. That happens at home. You get to keep them safe, right? And now they've got that feeling in them. Oh my gosh, I'll never forget the day that, that person ended up asking to meet me, and I felt so stupid that I thought they were a real person. Guess what? Now, when they use technology at 18 or 20 or 25, now they've got this little intuition that they've been attuned to that says, when I'm chatting to someone on Tinder, or when I'm chatting and we're getting to the point where we're going to catch up or something, there's something in me that's not sitting right. And I know this feeling because I've been here before. Okay. Your children they need protection at 25 years old more than they do at 15 years old. So we need to give them the gift of discernment, particularly around technology, and we cannot offer them the gift of discernment if we are removing them from the experiences that help develop that discernment. Okay, now I'm going to close this off for today. Thank you very much. I see your comments there, and I'm going to read every single one of them. And we will make sure we get in touch with you today regarding those online programs. I see those of you that have put that up there. Okay, so listen, I'm going to close out the same way I always do. And this has been a bit of a longer live, but I wanted to make sure that everyone got the message. If you do have other topics you'd love for me to talk about, put them down below. Like I'm always, I know there's a billion topics that I can just come up with. Okay, but what I'd rather do is address the immediate concerns that parents have right now. And when I'm getting requests for the same thing by a lot of people, I feel like that's the universe giving me a message. Holly, this needs to be at the top of your priority list. Okay, so that's how you can help me give you more value. Now, I know that parenting this way takes courage. Okay, it takes courage to break the mold. It takes courage to break the cycle. It takes a whole lot of courage to do it differently and to not do it the way we were programmed to do it, because our kids cannot be raised the same way we were raised, because they are not living in the world that we grew up in. We have to prepare them for their world. So, if there's anything that I could wish for anyone, it is courage. It is the courage to be able to make that decision, to break that cycle, and to do what it takes to learn, to put your hand up, to be vulnerable, to take, to take the hit yourself and go, shit, okay, if I've stuffed up, give it to me. Like, I just want to change. Okay. So as you depart from here today, please depart from here with courage, the courage to believe in a better way, the courage to voice what you've got to say, the courage to thrive when times are tough, and above all else, the courage to know you are good enough. See you guys tomorrow.